Well, thank you all for coming. And I thought today that, just for fun, oh, look at that. Ask and ye shall receive. Thank you. My teacher, the founder of the Hare Krishna Society, I met him in 1969. Before, I'm looking around the room, I think probably everybody in this room was born, at least this time around. And in addition to being a profound scholar and a writer and so many things, he also liked to tell illustrative stories that made a point. And they paint a mental picture. It'll stick with people. It'll stay with them. So I was thinking about that this afternoon. And I thought, well, I think it'd be fun and perhaps of value for you, as well as for me, to share some of those stories. So that's what we're going to do today. We're going to tell a few of those stories, tell the point they were trying to make, and then we can take some questions. And now, but is it big enough numbers that I can see? We need a clock in here. No, that's useless. No, that won't do the job. Thank you, though. All right, well, somebody can just... All righty. And how long do we go to? What is our... All righty. Oh, yeah, this is much better. Thanks. No offense. Just happens to have a different contrast. All right. So, one of the first stories I heard my guru tell was, goes like this. There was in Bengal, East India, there's a lot of rivers, and they take advantage of boat service. They travel up and down the rivers, and it's quite efficient. So I just thought of another one, actually. Balaram, remind me when I'm done. I'll tell this one, and then you can remind me about the wedding party story. Okay, so there was a scholar. We're not against scholars. We're not against knowledge. We're not against education. Don't just go down that rabbit hole. But this guy was extremely proud, which sometimes they say PhD, prominent head damage. I don't know if you ever heard that one. Prominent humility disorder. So, but no, we're all for education and knowledge and that. But this guy was so arrogant and proud that he could not hear anything, couldn't learn, just like, I'm God's gift to the earth. So he got on a boat with this boatman, simple boatman, and as they're rowing down the Jalangi or the Ganga, the Ganges, some river, the fish jumped out of the water. So to show his erudition, the scholar said, I say, boatman, do you know the name of that fish? Boatman said, I'm vegetarian, I don't eat fish. It doesn't bother me, I don't bother it, we're all just fine, He said, you have never studied marine biology? Scholar said, no. The boatman said, no. Scholar said, you've wasted 25% of your life. All right, whatever. So the boatman's rowing and rowing. And they get close to the bank and they see some plants growing. And the scholar says, I say, boatman, do you know the name of the genus, the Latin species of that plant? And the boatman says, eggplant, tomato, chili. I make a veg, I mean, it just works. I don't really, Well, you've never studied biology. You've wasted 50% of your life. So they go a little further. Nighttime by this time. Stars come out. And the scholar says to the boatman, I say, do you know the name of this star or this constellation? And the boatman says, I know the pole star. I guide my boat, and that works for me. You've never studied astrophysics? You've wasted 75% of your life. So as often happens in the tropics, all of a sudden a rainstorm came. I don't know if you anyone ever been in a tropical monsoon? I mean, that's rain, What we get here is a sprinkle, but that's solid stuff. So the boat starts to fill up with water. It's getting ready to sink. And the boatman says to the scholar, hey, I can't bail fast enough. This boat is going to sink. But we're just close to the bank. Just jump in and swim. We'll just swim to the bank. And the scholar says, what? I've never learned how to swim. And the boatman says, looks like you've wasted 100% of your life. And the point is that we know so many things about so many things. But do we really know they have that saying, nothing is certain but death and taxes. We all know that we're going to drop, and even taxes you can avoid, but I don't recommend it, but death is coming. They say, what's that light at the end of the tunnel? And the answer is it's the train coming at you. So this is we're all influenced. But what happens at the time of death? Okay, do I just drop dead, plant me under a tree, and I'll be good fertilizer? Or what if there's consciousness, and what if the soul goes on, and what if, and what if there is every action is an equal and opposite reaction? Buy now, pay later. What if I've got a karmic bank account? You ever seen people, it's a VW Bug, but they put a Rolls Royce front on it? You ever seen that? The front radiator or whatever it is in the insignia or whatever. Well, they want a Rolls, but they only have enough money for a VW. So they get a combination. So we're full of like the gas in the clutch that drives a car. If you just, according to our source books, the Vedas, there is transmigration of the soul. And what determines our next body are two factors. Our next life, our next birth. It's not just whimsical, haphazard, There's a whole mechanism of it, and according to our tradition. And just like a car, it has a gas and a clutch. If you suppose you have a manual transmission. And that combination, gas and clutch, makes the car move forward. So there's projecting us, propelling us to our next life, the transmigration of the soul. Well, I'll tell it, because we're a small group, informal. There's an old joke, maybe you've heard it. A man is trying to explain to his dimwit friend reincarnation, transmigration of the soul, that after this death one takes another body. He's trying to explain. And his friend's just not getting it. So the friend's a little bit of not the brightest bulb in the chandelier. And he says, the guy trying to explain says, if you act piously, if you act selflessly, if you act according to dharma or proper, whatever it is, morality and things like that, then in your next life you're born in a more elevated state. And the slow says, oh, like Colorado? It's an old joke. So elevated state. So but what if it's true? At least we should look into it. At least we should be a little curious, because what if it's true? So that's the point of that we can know so many things, but what really, when it gets down to it, what really matters is essential to know. So there's another one my teacher told. A man's riding on a train in India. And in the old days in India, they had coal-burning trains. You know, everyone ever been on a coal-burning train? Yeah, well, you're from India, so there it is. But no, I think they're all pretty much phased out now.
No, there is one toy train in
Yeah, I'm talking about real deal. So anyway, but that's okay. I appreciate that. Yeah, we'll work together. We'll work together. Don't worry. I'm trying to get somewhere. I appreciate that though. So the okay, so they pump out black smoke from the burning coal. Yeah, now you know. They pump out just billows. You all seen the old westerns? You know, it's billowing out the black smoke. And I used to ride on trains all the time in India. And you'd have to wash your clothes if you have white clothes or light colored clothes, any cut for that matter. The rinse water would come out almost black because of all the coal dust. So the guy's riding with his friend. He's on a train. He shuts the window so that the dust doesn't get in. But it gets hot. There's no AC. They never work. So many things. So he opens the window to get some fresh air, and a cinder gets right in his eye. Now, have you ever had something in your eye? It hurts like anything. So what to do? So his friend's there. This guy's writhing in pain, and his friend, what they say, is there a doctor in the house? So he goes looking through the different compartments, the different train compartments, looking for a doctor. Can't find a doctor. Can't. Finally, the last compartment. It's a convention. It's a group of doctors. They're going to a medical convention. Fantastic. Not quite. This one's a cardiologist. This one's a podiatrist. This one's internal medicine. This one's the nephrologist. This one's this. There's so many different things. So finally he finds an ophthalmologist, an eye doctor, and he brings the eye doctor up to look at his friend with the cinder in the eye. And the ophthalmologist, the eye doctor, says, it's in the left eye. I'm a right eye specialist. So same thing. We've got so many specialists in so many departments of knowledge, and it's impressive. I'm not, dismissing it. There's so many fields of knowledge. But what is the essential thing? So the other one I was thinking, as long as we're thinking about boats and boatmen and travel, there was a wedding party, and they were going up to the groom's village. The bride's family was going up to the groom's village for a wedding, and they took boat service. And they got on the boat just as sunset time, and they told the boatman, you get us to the village and this, and we'll give you so many rupees bonus. So they all sacked out on the boat, stretched out there, and they figured, when we wake up in the morning, we'll be at the groom's village, and fantastic, rested and ready to go. So they all sacked out, and the boatman, enthusiastic to get his bonus, he's just pulling away, rowing away all night long. So the wedding party, when they wake up at sunrise, they look to the left, they look to the right, they haven't moved an inch. What the? We're going to be late for the wedding, we're going to miss the feast, and you're not getting your bonus. And you can imagine the scene that ensued. And the boatman's covered with sweat. He says, look at my hands. I've been working all night long. So accepting is true that the boatman was moving in the right direction and was working all night long. What happened? Anyone other than my fellow monks know why? Even though the guy, and you count as a fellow monk, if you know the answer. Does anyone know what happened?
Maybe the water was flowing in the opposite.
Oh, that's a good guess. It's good. 10 points. What's that? Who said anchor? Way to go. I mean, yours was good too. But, if you don't pull up the anchor, you're not going anywhere. And my guru told that it's, people say, how come someone advances very quickly in spiritual life and somebody just goes around in circles? And we have to deal, it's not enough just to have momentum, but those anchors are our attachments. We're attached to psychological patterns, anger, envy, lust, fear. I got to look just right, my daughter, I have a teenage daughter she's 48 years old. I get so many things. But I remember she and her friends, and men do it too. It's not a gender specific, but they would spend hours getting ready to go somewhere. And then one time, whatever it was, they called, well, we're not going to do it tonight. So, and I told my daughter and her friends, I said, you aren't disappointed? They said, no, we had fun just getting ready. That was half the fun. So and men do it too. They get to, but vanity, that's a simple example, but let's take it, whatever it is, we got so many, and if we don't pull those out, like a garden, you can put so many flowers in. Anyone who's a gardener knows. You got to water, okay, fine. You got it, but if you got to be in the right sun, so many different, good soil, okay, fine. But if you don't pull the weeds out, they're going to choke out everything in your garden. So similarly, in the garden of our heart, we can plant so many good ideas and so many intentions, but if we don't pull out the weeds, lust, greed, anger, envy, it's not going to work. So that's pulling up the anchor. Now let me think. Okay, we'll say a few more. These are all from my teacher, my guru. Somebody is going to a foreign country and doesn't speak the language. So his friend said, what's the problem? You just learn to say yes, no, and very good. And it'll work out. A little pantomime. Anybody who's been to a foreign country and doesn't speak the language, you'd be amazed how much mileage you can get out of yes, no, very good, and some pantomime. You can get a lot. So he's going along, yes, no, very good, yes, no. Everything's working out fine. One day, he happens to be standing out in front of a bank. And some robbers come, rob the bank, disappear with the money. He doesn't know what happened. He's just standing there. Police show up. They see him standing there. They say, hey, did you rob the bank? He has no idea what they said. He said, yes. They said, well, give the money back. He said, no. They said, well, you're going to jail. He said, very good. Off he went. So the point my guru is trying to make, if we just have a simple understanding, a simple, innocent, that's good. But if we don't have a deep understanding, it's not enough just to say, I meet people all the time, oh, I'm a Christian, I'm a Muslim, I'm a Hindu, I'm this, I'm that, But what is the level of their understanding? We've got Christians going after, fellow Christians, we've got Muslims going after Jews, we've got Buddhists going after, they're killing each other, hammer and tong, they're going after each other. How deep is their realization? So it's not enough to have a superficial understanding. We should take it's serious. What happens at the time of death? Where do I go? Okay, so let's do a few more. This one, there was a sage, and he was living in the forest. And, it's quite common. Throughout every genuine spiritual tradition, you find monks and nuns who live in, simple conditions to have a chance to, the senses calm down, the mind gets clear. It's said that the nature is the dictionary of the self. But, by studying nature, we can learn so many things. So this sage is out in the forest. And he's got, this is called this simple monk's dress, like a loincloth, or this is a lungi, sometimes they say, or a dhoti, or whatever it is. So he's got two. He's got one he's wearing, and the other one from the previous day he's washed and hung on the line. So one day a mouse comes and steals his clothes, let's say his top shirt, steals it off the line. Well, he's gravely inconvenienced. So what to do? So he asks his friend. We've all got friends full of bad advice. He asks his friend. His friend says, well, you got to get a cat. A cat will keep the mice away. So seems like a simple solution. He gets a cat. So again, he sits down in his meditation. Meow, meow, meow. What? The cat's rubbing against him. You can't meditate. It's constant distraction. He asked his friend, say, hey, listen, I got a cat. No problem with the mice, but now the cat's always bothering me. He said, did you feed it? He said, no, I didn't. Well, you got to get a cow. You got to get milk, feed the cat. Oh, okay. So he goes out and gets a cow. Now he's got the cat, he's got to feed, he's got the cow, he's got to milk. So he says, well, what about meditation? His friend says, get married. Then you have a wife to help you. Okay, fine. He gets married, she's milking the cow, and he's giving the milk to the cat, and the rat's nowhere. And the wife says after a while, hey, you're always in meditation. It's so lonely out here. I got to have something to do. Well, what? I got to have some kids. So then he gets some kids. It goes on and on like this. And the wife says, well, fine, you're living under a tree, but I got these kids. I got to have a house. Well, how's he going to get a house? His friend says, you got to get a house. Well, how's he going to get? You got to get a job. So before you know it, he's got the house, he's got the job, he's got the wife, he's got the kids, he's got the cow, he's got the cat. He's forget it, He's working on the college fund for the kids. He's got no time for meditation, what to do. He goes to another friend and says, just buy another shirt. In other words, there was a simple solution. But we think we're improving life. My guru, and I think it comes from Thoreau, but there's this saying that simple living and high thinking. That if one actually wants to be peaceful and happy, simple living and high thinking doesn't mean you all have to move out to the forest or, east of Alpine, or I don't know where you're going to go, Mount Palomar. But it means as a principle, they say that we own things, but the truth is things own us. I was over here getting my tires changed, and a guy, he was talking to his friend. He said, hey. He said, what are you doing? The guy said, not much. I'm killing time. And I was saying, wait a minute. I said to the guy, I said, hey, wait a minute. I said, actually, you're not killing time. Time is killing you. Time's just fine. Time's not even nicked and scraped, So if we want to become peaceful, to control the mind, to go deep into realizing our actual self, who we really... Let's see, do I have another? I think I have another one along that line. We need to simplify our life. That's my point. As far as possible, simple life is the key to have. Not more and more stuff. The more you pack up, the more no. Because you don't own that stuff owns you. Okay, so my guru was on a walk. He used to walk every morning, take a morning walk. And his disciples and friends would walk with him, So he was on a walk. This happened to be in, we used to say Bombay, but Mumbai. The western side of India. And he was walking a beautiful beach, Juhu Beach. He was walking along the beach. And there was a man who owned a bunch of glass factories, made glass. And he kept going on and on and on and on, that I own this glass factory, and I had the biggest glass factory in Bengal, and I've got 4 glass factories in South India. He was going on and on and on about his glass factories. He couldn't think about anything else, couldn't hear anything else. That was just glass factory land, and I own all these glass factories. I have all these implants like that. So after he kept going on for some time, and my guru was trying to get him on let's think a little deeper here. Guy just bounced right off him. So then he said, my guru said, and where do you get the sand for your glass? And the guy was pious. He said, it's coming from the Supreme. It's coming from God. Then my guru said, okay, and where do you get the silica for making your glass? You mix with the sand, it's coming from Bhagavan, or the Supreme. It's coming from Krishna. So then my guru said, and where do you get the coal for your furnace? I said, I get it all from Bhagavan. So my guru said, you're claiming your factory, you're this, you're that, but everything that created it comes from the Supreme, comes from Krishna. Like if a carpenter builds a house, suppose you pay a carpenter to build a house. Now you supply all the wood, you supply all the fixtures, you pay the guy. And on the due date, you go there and he's moved in. He's there with his family. He's out in the back roasting veggies or whatever he's doing. Can you say, hey, wait on a minute, my friend? He says, well, I built it. Is that legitimate? No, he worked with all the ingredients you supplied. It belongs to the supplier. So this guy kept saying, and so my guru asked him, well, where do you get the ingredients? Finally, he said, oh, I got it from Krishna, I got it from Krishna, I got it from Krishna. Then my guru said, then you're just a thief. You're just stealing from the Supreme and claiming it all as yours. So the guy was a little surprised by that. And he kind of recomposed himself. And then he says, oh, but I give donations. I'm a pious person. So my guru said, all right, you're just a little thief. He gave him an inch, you're a little thief. So if we think about it, my guru used to like this saying, you can't eat nuts and bolts, There's also an example of the Vedas, and it's explaining the principle of Purnam, that the Om Purnam Ada Purnamidam, it's a Purnat Purnamudashyate. It's a Sanskrit verse from one of the Upanishads, the Shri Upanishad. And the example my guru gives is that everything is balanced and complete. The sun is shining on the ocean. You know why one of the reasons there's salt in the ocean? Controls the distillation rate. It's an interesting feature. Guy told me the other day. So the sun is shining on the ocean, and the water evaporates. And then that evaporate in the form of a cloud, that evaporated distilled water is blown in the form of clouds. And it catches on the mountains. And when it pounds on the mountains, it brings all the minerals, all the nutrients, everything. It comes down and it fertilizes the plain. Fertilizes it, waters everything, takes all the trash, all the rubbish, all the sewage. Then it flows in the ocean, drops it in the bottom of the ocean, and it's all going on perfectly. It's the original free energy machine. Off it's going. It's Purnam. It's complete, completely balanced. And we think, oh, I'm in charge of this. People say, oh, I'm going to harness nature. No, you're not going to harness nature. If there's a earthquake somewhere, perish the thought, in Alaska, where it is, and there's a tidal wave coming this way, anybody here going to harness nature? What are your odds about that? So it's a healthy sense of dependence and cooperation. It's not a dependence that destroys one's sense of self, or one feels low self-esteem, but to recognize, wait a minute, I'm not actually controlling everything. And I'm not actually, I'm dependent on mercy in so many different ways. And maybe I'm not just this body or this agitated mind. Maybe I'm something deeper. Maybe I'm the self within. And wherever there's design, we'll end here, but wherever there's design, oh, that was the cue, huh? He's gone to get the dinner ready. Wherever there's design, what is there behind it? Okay, I was going to say intelligence. And as a corollary of that, they're always digging around, archaeologists, they're always looking for pot shards, different things. And then they put them all together, and they say, oh, this was a funeral vase, or this was for keeping grains, they must have been agrarians. From the form, from the pieces, they figure out the design, and from the design, they figure out the purpose. It's called form from function, function from form. So let me just think about it. If this world, which we could spend hours, you'll be happy I won't. We could spend hours studying the different designs, how this. The interdependency of so many systems in this world. You change the water temperature off the coast of Peru 2 degrees, and there's a guy who did it up at Scripps, and those pilings of piers? Those are all interdependent food systems. The mussel produces this, the whatever, clam or whatever, produces a particular byproduct that feeds this crab, and that crab produces something that feeds the seaweed. What they're growing off and it's all interdependent and super complex. And you change the water a few degrees off the coast of Peru, And in due course of time, like dominoes, that works its way all the way up to the coast of California, go all the way to Alaska. It's the ripple effect. So, I mean, we live in an amazingly complex world, and it's designed. And if it's designed, lo and behold, there's a purpose. And that purpose is not just to stuff our face, to eat, sleep, mate, or defend. That's animals. But that happens automatically, eating. Nobody needs to be taught how to sleep or how to eat, or, generally speaking. So if there's a design, then there must be a purpose. What is that purpose? And that is the challenge of human life. And we say, it's for you to decide, but we say that purpose is self-realization. And by realization of the self, then we become free of self. I'll end with a Sanskrit verse. I already said I end, but I didn't say I end with a Sanskrit verse. So, it's Brahma Bhuta Prasanatma, na sojate na kanchate, samarasavesha bhuteshu, mad bhaktim labite param. I think I've got that right. But the point is that Brahma Bhuta Prasanatma, Prasanatma means the happiness of the soul, of the self. What are the automatic byproducts? Nasojate, nakanchate. No hankering, no lamenting. If you think about it, we spend so much of our time either hankering, looking for the forward, I want, when will I get, how to, or lamenting, I had it and I lost it. Fear of missing out, I should be here, I wish I was over there. The mind is always hankering and lamenting. But one who has the happiness of the self and is deeply founded, standing on the foundation of I'm eternal. The soul is eternal, full of knowledge, and full of happiness. That is our default mode. You don't have to acquire it. It's not an artificial imposition, some mental adjustment. If I have a diamond and I drop it in the mud, what do I have to do to return that diamond to its actual state, original state, lustrous state? Don't overthink it, my friends. Yeah, you just pull it out and you clean it. You don't have to add anything to it. That's its natural state. So the message of all the great saints and sages is that our natural state is not all this mental fabrication and anxiety and chasing after stuff and fear of death and all that stuff. That's not what it's all about. There's a design, there's a purpose, and it's to realize our real eternal self. And that's what we're doing here. That's what this chanting does. It's that cleaning off the diamond. It actually cleanses the heart. It cleanses the mirror of the mind. Okay, so that's enough for one evening. We'll leave you in peace and quiet. Are we ready for the prasadam? What happens now, Balaramji?
Are we ready?
Should we ask some questions while they're distributing it? They can bring it in so nobody has to wait, because I'm sure people are hungry.
Start bringing it in.
So while they're bringing everything in, does anyone have a question? It won't delay things. Don't worry. You don't have to, oh, geez, why'd that guy raise his hand? Okay, yeah.
So you were talking about this story about this man who makes...
Get the flow going. Thanks.
The man who owns a glass factory.
Yeah,
versus,
the little thief.
Yeah. So versus the provider.
Yes.
So is the creator more important or the provider?
Well, I mean, have you gone into Hindu cosmology and we're talking about Lord Brahma as the creator? Well, see, that's over everybody's head. But that's okay. I'll give it a shot. But they don't. What's that all about? Because as there's a design, there's a designer. And, people say the Supreme, they say Krishna, they say God, they use so many things. But let's not go into that whole world. Let's just go into the world that is reasonable, where there's a design, there's an intelligence, and there's a purpose. Now, in Vedic cosmology, Vedic means coming from the Bible, there's many controllers of this world. There's someone in charge of fire. There's someone in charge of the wind. There's someone in charge of the sun. I mean, in the Bible, there's archangels, seraphims, cherubs. I mean, there's a whole pantheon of people that help run the universe. It's all under the direction of the Supreme, under Krishna. But he has many, many agents. So there's Ishvara Parama Krishna Satchidananda Vigraha. And that's from the Brahma Samhita. And it says the supreme controller. Hey, I'm the controller of this mic, But San Diego Gas and Electric, or Gouge and Extort, SDG&E, they can shut this thing off in a second. So they're a better controller than me, And the state of California, I don't know, don't they have a utility board or something? They can come down and shut San Diego Gas and Electric, So there's a whole hierarchy. Ultimately, there's a governor, there's the president. It goes up and up and up. And there are what we call demigods. Lord Brahma is the creator of this universe. There's unlimited universes, and each universe has a Brahma who fabricates the universe. But ultimately, Ishvara Parama, the supreme controller, Ishvara means controller, is Krishna. They're all dependent on him. Does that answer your question? Yeah, all right. Well, kind of means not really so. But you can ask me later on. Okay.
Actually, Mars, they're doing it another way now. They don't. Actually, they expected that everybody's going to go in.
Oh, everybody goes out?
Yeah.
Oh, see you later. Thank you for sitting so patiently. Nobody said, hey, buddy, I'm out of here. You're well trained by your mothers. You're very gentlemanly and gentle lady.
Round of applause for Badrinarayan Swami. Thank you for such a nice talk.
Hare Krishna.